10 songs from the 1960s, not the obvious picks. The ones where you press play right now, in whatever room you're sitting in, and feel genuinely confused about how we went from that to what's charting today. Because somewhere between then and now, pop music lost something. Not the technology, not the production budgets. Something harder to name than either of those. 12 songs. Let's figure out what it was. Number 10, Be My Baby, the Ronettes, 1963. 4 beats before Ronnie Spector opens her mouth, before strings come in, before a single word. A bass drum hit, a snare crack, da-da-da-boom, and you're already in. You've been in from the first time you heard it, and you've been in every time since. That drum pattern became one of the most copied openings in the history of recorded music. Hundreds of songs have referenced it. Scores of producers have spent careers trying to recreate what it does. None of them got there. Here's why this matters more than it might seem. Brian Wilson, the man who would go on to make Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations, called Be My Baby the greatest pop record ever made. He was obsessed with it. Listened to it constantly during the Pet Sounds sessions. If you've ever wondered why Pet Sounds changed what albums were allowed to be, part of the answer lives right here. The record that redefined the album was itself built in the shadow of a 2-minute, 37-second single from 1963. Phil Spector, Jeff Barry, and Ellie Greenwich wrote this. Spector recorded it at Gold Star Studios using his wall of sound. Dozens of instruments stacked so densely the result felt physical, something you felt in your chest before you could parse it with your ears. Warm, dense, alive. And then Ronnie Spector's voice cutting through all of that like it's the only thing in the room. Like the entire production exists just to give her somewhere to land. Now think about what modern pop production does. Precise, surgical. Every element placed exactly where data says it should be. And it sounds exactly like that. Be My Baby sounds like heat. Like a room full of people who all felt something at the same time. The song peaked at He-ish 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Spector reportedly wept. He built his entire methodology to produce the perfect pop record, and it came up one position short. And if you were a teenager in 1963 and that drum hit came through a transistor radio for the first time, you know exactly what happened to you in that moment. Number 9, White Rabbit, Jefferson Airplane, 1967. Grace Slick wrote this at 3 in the morning. She'd been up all night listening to Miles Davis's Sketches of Spain on repeat. That military march rhythm, the way it climbed without ever releasing pressure. She picked up her guitar and wrote the whole thing start to finish in one sitting. 2.5 minutes, one idea, no revision. The kind of thing that happens once and then closes behind you. In 1967, radio stations knew exactly what the song was about. The Alice in Wonderland imagery is a cover, and a thin one. Grace Slick has never been subtle about what she was actually describing. But the arrangement was so precise and so strange and so unlike anything on the charts that programmers couldn't find a category to dismiss it.
Don't do anything at all.
You either played it or you didn't. They played it because you couldn't not. Here's what she built that almost nobody has pulled off since. The song has no verse-chorus structure, no hook in the traditional sense, no release point. It's a single escalating line, starting cold with that military snare, building in the harmony and the instrumentation. Every bar tighter than the last, until it hits the final feed your head like a door slamming, and then it stops. No outro, no resolution, done. She said she wanted you to feel trapped, not uncomfortable. Trapped. Once it starts, there's no exit until it finishes. You ride it to the end. White Rabbit peaked at 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 1967. Written in one night by someone who followed a feeling all the way without once asking whether it was commercial enough. No 7-second hook optimization, no skip rate data, no committee. Just a woman at 3 in the morning, chasing one idea with no safety net and no plan to revise it. That kind of commitment, uninterrupted, unsoftened, is almost impossible to find now.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, Light My Fire, The Doors, 1967. Most people assume Jim Morrison wrote this. The leather pants, the poetry, the whole mythology points at him. But Light My Fire was written by Robbie Krieger, the guitarist, the quiet one. Morrison contributed a verse, the darker imagery, but the core of the song, the melodic architecture, the structure that holds the whole thing together, that was Krieger. He was 20 years old, and he doesn't get that credit often enough. The album version runs 7 minutes and 5 seconds. The organ solo, the guitar solo, a full extended instrumental section that radio in 1967 had absolutely no framework for. Columbia Records wanted it cut down. The Doors said no. Not negotiated down, no. So they released a heavily edited version for radio and let the album version exist as something else. Entirely. Two different experiences of the same song, living simultaneously. The compromise and the real thing. Then the Ed Sullivan Show. Producers told Morrison to change one line. Girl, we couldn't get much higher. Too obvious. Clean it up. Morrison agreed, got on stage, looked out, and sang the original line live on national television. The Doors were banned from Ed Sullivan after that. Morrison later said he didn't even think about it. He just sang what the song was. And that's what I keep coming back to. Not the defiance, the conviction. The understanding that one word is the whole word. That changing it changes everything. Modern pop negotiates constantly, with labels, with platforms, with algorithmic recommendations. The work is always adjusting to fit the container it's being put in. Light My Fire refused the container, every version of itself. It reached 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 1967. But what people still talk about, what people still turn up, is the 7-minute version, the uncompromised one. That tells you exactly what survives. Number 7, River Deep, Mountain High, Ike and Tina Turner, 1966. Phil Spector called this his masterpiece, his greatest achievement. The wall of sound at its absolute ceiling, he spent months on it, brought in every session musician he could reach. Built something at Gold Star Studios so layered and dense and emotionally overwhelming that he said plainly, not as hype, but as a statement, that it was the best thing anyone had put on tape. And then he paid Ike Turner $20,000 to stay out of the studio. That's documented, not a rumor. Spector didn't want anything interfering with what he and Tina were building, so he wrote the check and Ike left. The record was released under the name Ike and Tina Turner. Ike played no part in making it. In the United States, it peaked at 88 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 88. Phil Spector's supposed masterpiece, featuring a woman who would eventually be recognized as one of the most powerful vocalists in American music history, couldn't crack the American Top 80. In the United Kingdom, it went to 3. It was exactly what it was supposed to be, a revelation. British audiences heard what Spector heard. American radio didn't know what to do with it. Spector was so devastated that he essentially went into retirement. The man who invented modern pop production methodology, who changed what a recording studio could do, walked away because his best work landed in silence in his own country.
Now I love you just the way I love that rag doll.
Whatever he would have made next never got made. That's a different kind of loss. Not just the song failing. The songs that would have followed it that never existed. You know that feeling? Making something real, something that costs you, something you know is right, and watching it be ignored. Spector felt that at the highest possible level, and it took something out of him that never fully came back. River Deep, Mountain High sat there, waiting for the world to catch up. It's still a little ahead of most of what's out there. Number 6, Respect, Aretha Franklin, 1967. Otis Redding wrote this in 1965, a man asking a woman for respect when he came home. The original is good. It has the groove, the urgency, the self-awareness. It charted. It did what a good song does.
R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-
Then Aretha Franklin got hold of it. She didn't record it, didn't cover it. She took it apart, identified what it was actually about at its core, and rebuilt it as something the original couldn't have imagined. She flipped the gender, changed the power dynamic entirely. She added the spelling, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, which wasn't in Redding's version at all. She added the socket to me, call and response, with her sisters Carolyn and Irma singing backup. And she delivered it not as a request, not as a plea, as a declaration of terms. The song reached 1 on both the pop and R&B charts in 1967, and then it left the charts and became something else. A civil rights anthem, a feminist statement, a document of what happens when someone who has been asked to wait long enough stops waiting. Otis Redding saw what she did with it. He reportedly told people she had stolen his song, and he said it with admiration, because what she did wasn't a cover, it was a correction. The song he wrote had one meaning. She found a different, truer meaning inside it and claimed that instead. Here's what that sounds like against modern pop. When was the last time a cover transformed the original? Not improved it, reframed it, changed what the central word of the song meant by the time the record was done. That's not just singing, that's thinking. That's arriving with a point of view and refusing to set it down. And the moment she spells it out, every time, 60 years later, you feel exactly what she intended. Someone setting a term, not asking, informing. Number 5, Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan, 1965. 6 minutes and 13 seconds. In 1965, a pop single was 2.5 minutes. 3 if you were pushing. 6 minutes was an eternity. Columbia Records didn't want to release it. Not because it was bad, because it violated every rule they had about what a single was allowed to be. Dylan pushed anyway. And when a DJ flipped the edited version over and played the full 6-minute track on WABC in New York, something remarkable happened. Listeners didn't change the station, they stayed. All 6 minutes. Here's the detail that stops me every time. Al Kooper played the organ on this track, which sounds unremarkable until you understand. Al Kooper was a guitarist, not a keyboard player. He snuck into the session, quietly sat down at the organ, and started playing along while the tape was already rolling. Producer Tom Wilson heard it coming back through the monitors. Almost stopped him. Almost. Then he left the fader up. That searching, tentative organ line. The one that's been imitated thousands of times and never quite replicated, came from someone playing an instrument he had no business playing in a session he wasn't officially part of. Like a Rolling Stone peaked at TS2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Rolling Stone magazine ranked it the one greatest song of all time in 2004, then again in 2011, then again in 2021. 3 separate lists, 3 separate eras, the same answer. And here's what makes modern pop look small against it. This song is 6 minutes of someone refusing to let you be comfortable, refusing to reassure you, refusing to meet you where you are. It demands you come to it. It doesn't soften. It doesn't resolve into something easier to swallow. Modern pop is engineered to be frictionless, to slide right past you without friction. Like a Rolling Stone was built, if you can even call it that, to feel exactly as uncomfortable as the truth usually does. 60 years later, it's still uncomfortable and still right. Number 4, Gimme Shelter, The Rolling Stones, 1969. Keith Richards came up with the opening chord structure in a London flat during a rainstorm. He was watching lightning, feeling something he described as planetary dread. Not personal doom, but the world itself coming apart. He put that feeling into a riff. That riff. You already know the one. You've heard it 1,000 times and it still does something in your chest that you can't quite name. There is no modern equivalent to that sound. Nothing current can replicate it because what makes it work isn't technique. It's dread. Real dread caught on tape. Then the phone calls. Producer Jack Nitch reached Mary Clayton at midnight. She was pregnant, in bed. He told her the Stones needed a female voice. Tonight, right now, she got up, got dressed, went in. And she delivered one of the most extraordinary vocal performances in the history of rock and roll. Her voice cracks during the rape, murder refrain. You can hear it break, and instead of pulling another take, they kept it. Because that crack wasn't a mistake. It was the emotional peak of the song made audible. Something actually breaking in real time on tape in a way no second take could ever replicate. Mary Clayton had a miscarriage shortly after that session. The performance she gave the night before went on to be called one of the greatest rock. Vocal moments ever recorded, while her name was buried in the credits for years, if it appeared at all. Here's what Gimme Shelter understood in 1969. The world was in fact coming apart. Vietnam, the collapse of the counterculture dream. And this song caught it. The dread, the violence, the specific terror of a moment when things stopped making sense. In 2 minutes and 59 seconds. You couldn't have planned that. Couldn't have produced your way to it with any amount of data or studio time. And if that opening riff just started playing in your head right now, yeah, that's it. That's what it does every single time. Number 3, Eleanor Rigby, The Beatles, 1966.
That she keeps in a jar by the door.
Paul McCartney brought this to the session, and the premise alone is a statement. A song about two people who die alone, not as a dramatic tragedy you're meant to mourn, just as a fact, as something that happens. That happens often. That most pop music has never wanted to look at directly. They stripped everything out. No guitars, no drums, no bass in any conventional sense. Just a string octet, 4 violins, 2 violas, 2 cellos, arranged by George Martin in a style borrowed from Bernard Herrmann.
Where do they all belong?
The man who wrote the Psycho score. The Loneliness song sounds, underneath its surface, like a horror film. Just enough to keep you slightly uneasy without knowing exactly why. Eleanor Rigby waits in a church wearing the face she keeps in a jar by the door. She cleans up rice from a wedding nobody stayed for. Father Mackenzie writes a sermon that no one will hear, patches his socks alone at night. They share a world, these two people, without ever once sharing a scene. And at the end, there's a question, where do they all belong? That's it. No answer. On purpose.
Nobody there. What does he care?
The song ends in a question it refuses to answer. Modern pop resolves. It earns the chorus where everything turns around.
Only people, where do they all belong?
It gives you the uplift because without it, the algorithm reads the song as too downbeat and stops recommending it. Eleanor Rigby presents loneliness not as a problem you overcome, but as something that simply exists. That some people move through entirely. That ends quietly, without ceremony, without the camera pulling back for the hopeful shot. George Harrison played nothing on this record. No Beatle touched a conventional rock instrument.
Took the rice in a church where a wedding has been.
They handed the entire musical architecture to a string ensemble and a film composer and walked away. That kind of trust in your collaborators, in the song itself.
Do they all come from? All alone.
In the audience's ability to hold something that doesn't resolve is the rarest thing I know of in this music. And the most honest thing about Eleanor Rigby is that it doesn't pretend otherwise.
No one was safe, all alone.
Number 2, Good Vibrations, The Beach Boys, 1966. Brian Wilson started recording this song in February 1966 and didn't finish until September. 7 months. 17 sessions across 4 different Hollywood studios. The production cost somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 at a time when most albums were made for a few thousand. Capitol Records kept asking what was happening. Wilson kept not answering. He was too far inside it to explain it to anyone who wasn't. Band publicist Derek Taylor called it a pocket symphony. Not a song, a pocket symphony. And when you hear what Wilson actually assembled, sections shifting in texture and key and mood with no warning, the juddering cello rhythm, the tannerin giving the melody the eerie floating quality. The phrase earns itself completely. 90 hours of recorded tape, let that settle. 90 hours of material to produce a 3.5-minute song. Every decision about what stayed, what got cut, how the modular pieces fit together, made by one man operating on instinct and obsession.
Gotta keep those lovely vibrations.
Recording fragments at 4 different studios and then building them into something with no precedent. He invented the process as he went. Good Vibrations went to Heesh to one in both the United States and United Kingdom, and Brian Wilson, with that achievement behind him, facing Sargent. Peppers the following year began work on Smile, an album meant to do across a whole LP what Good Vibrations had done in 3.5 minutes. He couldn't finish it. The weight of his own ambition broke something. He shelved Smile in 1967. A completed version didn't arrive until 2004, nearly 40 years later. That's the other story inside this record. It didn't just produce a masterpiece. It built a ceiling that Wilson spent decades trying to reach again, knowing exactly where it was, unable to get back to it. You can hear that weight now that you know it. Every layer he built manually with no safety net, by someone chasing something he could feel but couldn't fully see. Modern pop has infinite safety nets. Good Vibrations had none of them. Number 1, A Day in the Life, The Beatles, 1967. John Lennon brought 2 things to the January 1967 session. A newspaper clipping about a wealthy young man who died in a car crash. The report mentioned he hadn't noticed the traffic lights. And a smaller item, almost a footnote, about 4,000 potholes in Blackburn, Lancashire. Paul McCartney had a fragment of his own. Being late for school, rushing to breakfast, finding a seat upstairs on the bus. 3 newspaper clippings, 2 unfinished half songs.
They'd seen his face before.
And then the decision to bridge them with an orchestra. 40 musicians gathered at Abbey Road on February 10th, given what has to be the strangest creative brief in recording history. Go from your lowest note to your highest note in 24 bars. Take as long as possible. Do whatever you want in between. EMI engineer Ken Townsend had to sync 2 4-track tape machines to layer the orchestra. 4 times over, creating the effect of 160 musicians where there were 40.
But he was really sure he was from the house of law.
The technology didn't exist. He invented it that day. When the last note of the orchestral crescendo landed, every musician in the studio broke into spontaneous applause. They knew what they'd just been part of.
Woke up, fell out of bed.
Then the final chord. John, Paul, Ringo, and Mal Evans gathered around 3 pianos on February 22nd and struck an E major chord simultaneously. 9 takes to get the timing right.
They had to count them all. Now they know how many holes it takes.
And then engineer Jeff Emmerich slowly raised the faders as the chord decayed. compensating for the dying sound, until 45 seconds later you could hear the air conditioning in the room. The chord held until there was nothing left to hold. The BBC banned it. One line. One possible drug reference. The most architecturally complex piece of music the decade produced, built from newspaper clippings.
But I just had to look. Having
2 unfinished fragments, 40 real musicians, and the effect of 160. Banned for one word. And here's what that tells you about why this is number 1. It was too much of everything at once. Too long. Too experimental. Too honest. Too many ideas from too many places refusing to be simplified. It set no bar, recognized no ceiling, and just asked, what happens if you don't stop? If you put all of it in, if you trust the person on the other side of the record to hold everything you give them, 60 years later, they still can.